All right, we're back again with a 1940 Frigidaire refrigerator. The last time I attempted to charge this fridge with the original compressor, it ran fine and everything until I added the refrigerant, and then it just it wouldn't even start after that. So, and under several attempts to get it freed, I was not successful. So I had, I guess it's a 1960s-ish Frigidaire refrigerator that was, the cabinet was in just terrible shape. This was probably been over a year ago. I kept this compressor in the likelihood that I may be able to use it again or use it one day. So I'm gonna, it's pretty close to the same horsepower as the one that come out. It's a little bit different mounting, so I had to fabricate that a little bit to get it to mount in here. And I've just got through pulling a deep vacuum. I'm fixing, this is a R12 compressor. It had originally had a R114 compressor in it. So I am going to I'm going to charge this compressor with R152A. Let's see if we can keep this compressor running. All right, let me purge my hose. If it's got any non-condensable gases in there. That's probably good. And I think I'm gonna let it go in on the high side. I'm afraid it could possibly get dumped into the bottom of the compressor and may turn into a liquid. So I'm gonna put it in as a vapor and may put the whole 10 ounces in here. The original compressor with this fridge calls for 20 ounces of the old refrigerant, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to take as much of this. So so let's see. Here we go. I'll probably let it take it in till we at least get into a positive pressure before I turn it on. And this is a cap tube system, so the pressures will slowly equalize. I may have to get some warm water. Okay, we're in a positive pressure. Can's getting really cold too, so that's good. Well, maybe not so good, but at least it's going in. All right, I'm gonna start it up. It ain't even got half the can in there yet, but it's in a positive pressure, so. It's not sounding the best. Taking a minute to kind of equalize pressures and sounding a lot better. We're running at 2.3 amps right now. Put some more charge in it. I don't want to stall the compressor. We've got about 50 or 60 psi on the high side. We're running like 0 on the low side. Check the freezer. Getting a little cool. All right, let's hold on. I'm gonna let it run a few minutes and just keep checking back. All right, I had to put the refrigerant in slightly warm water just to boil it off. It wasn't really taking it in. I've got almost 1 can, which is 10 ounces in there. The compressor, it sure did quiet down once it's got warmed up. Let's see, I'm running about, I don't know, 3 psi on the low side, and probably about a little over 100 on the high side. I've never really dealt with this refrigerant 152A before, so I'm not 100% certain on what my pressures should be, but I do understand the fridge is under a load right now, and they're going to be a little higher when it's under a load anyway. But here's the sound of the compressor. It sounds a lot better. And as of right now, everything's looking pretty good. The compressor has really quieted down. It would sound like it was drowning there for a minute. I guess the oil, but I put all brand new oil in it and a little bit of Supco. I think it's an oil additive to help seize compressors. I guess just to lubricate them a little bit better. And as old as this one is, I was certain it couldn't hurt. So let's go check out the freezer. Starting to get a frost. Almost the whole bottom is pretty much iced up. I don't want to add too much of this. It's not iced up here at the very top, but right here, it's all iced down through here. So everything's looking really good right now. I don't know if you can see on that side right there. The very top accumulator, I'm assuming up here, it doesn't have no ice on it. Start to get ice on the one below it, and then the whole bottom of the freezer here is getting a fine layer of ice. All the way on the bottom is ice. This is just a shelf. I've got to put my sensing bulb back on, and but I'm gonna let it run a few more minutes. If I don't get any full ice all the way up here at the top, the second can I'm just gonna add a little at a time, because I know it's not gonna take the full full another can. As of right now, the compressor is running 2.1 amps. Compressor is sounding good. We might have a success with this old compressor. I'm glad I've saved it now. It was on someone's back porch that's been sitting there for 20 years, and they were using it for storage. And I asked if I could get the compressor, and they said sure. The reason they stopped using it, it was freezing everything in the fridge, so I'm assuming it had a bad thermostat stuck in the closed position. So I said, I'll get it. You never know when you may need one. This one mounted a little bit different. This has got a, it don't have any mounting legs. It's got a pin, in the bottom of this compressor. It sticks straight up into the bottom of the compressor. The bottom of the compressor's got a rubber boot on it. And then this part right here at the top, let's see, you can see that. It's like a little round knob. It actually had a piece of metal with a hole in the top, and when you, which held it in place on top. So what I did, the plate that it sat on, I cut it just to fit this one. I bolted it to this one, and I put the hangers on here just to keep it, if it ever gets turned on its side, it won't fall over or fall out of place. The reason it's got so many service ports is, well, when I put this compressor up for storage, I pulled a good vacuum and had, pumped it with, had it full of dry nitrogen to keep it dry, and it was coppered to steel, so I wasn't going to take those off. It doesn't matter. They've got good caps, good seals, Schrader cores in them. I did put a inline filter dryer there. Took off the original charging port that was right in here. I took it off. I didn't need it anymore, so. But I'm gonna let it run a little bit more. I'm feeling a lot of heat. Not a lot of heat, but good warm heat coming out of the condenser. So I know it's doing its job now. The top of the compressor, it's warm. Of course, under normal circumstances, it's not going to run as long as it does on this first run. So, but I'm gonna let it run a bit and probably end up having to add a little bit more charge. All right, been running a little bit. It's cycled on and off. I think I might have got a little bit maybe overcharged. My high side pressure was going over 150 psi, which I believe is a little bit high. I'm not certain what the pressure should be on this or not, but the top of the compressor was getting hot. Low side right now is running around 1 psi. It's probably fixing to cut off again. Only running at 2 amps right now. I did pull 3 ounces of charge back out, but I put 1 entire can in, and probably half of another can possibly, but I pulled 4 more ounces out, so maybe just barely a little over a can. So I've got full frost in the freezer now, so still feeling the top of the compressor. It's just warm right now, but earlier it was getting way too hot. Sounding pretty good. Staying around 100 now. Got about 1 psi still on the low side. Let's go look at the freezer. Oh yeah, looking good. We got ice all the way to the top. It just turned off. So it's cycling on, cycling off. It says, I think about 10 degrees. When we got it turned up to 3. So we'll go a little bit colder. Letting it run a little bit, just checking on it. So we'll see how long it takes to turn back on. All right, it's been running for at least a good 30 minutes now, and I pulled about 3 ounces back out because I think I had a little overcharged. Compressor was getting hot. It's been running like it'll run for 5 minutes, and it'll cut off time is off cycle is about almost identical 5 minutes. My pressures will run down on the low side to about right below 1 psi, almost 0 psi, then turn back on. And then on the off cycle, it'll come up to about 5 psi, and then it'll come back on. And I've noticed on the high side, it generally stays right around, I don't know, 95 psi on the high side, and it'll come down to about 45, 50 psi in the off cycle before it turns back on. It's running between 1.9 and 2 amps, which I think is really good. So let's check the freezer. You can tell it's still got plenty of frost. I don't think these thermometers are right, but it's about 5 psi. But it's cooling really good. I've got frost on both sides all the way up, so that's looking really good. I'm just going to give it a little run time just to see how it does. But as of right now, everything's looking good. I'm just going to keep checking the charge, make sure I don't have it still a little bit overcharged. Compressor's still a little bit warmer than what I would like to see.